Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. For today's video, I wanted to talk to you about the narcissists and their manipulation, so let's jump in. What you'll find is the narcissists, they like to get you caught up in the guessing game. First, they come in and, of course, they love bomb you, and then they devalue you, they discard you, they get you through the hot and the cold, they get you second guessing, and they build this trauma bond that's based on also a codependency and you second guessing yourself and needing validation through them for everything that you do. And like I said, they inflame everything. So if you got a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of depression, a little bit of paranoia, it's going to be inflamed. It's going to be major all of a sudden. If you had a little bit of codependency, it's going to be major all of a sudden. And this is what they do. Anything that is in your mind that is on a negative level, all of a sudden, it may not have been that big a deal, mostly taken care of, but you had still these little wounds that needed to be dealt with. But because they weren't completely eradicated in your life, they inflame them all. And all at once. It's almost like if you were to have like one bomb hit you, that's one thing, but when you have a barrage of them, you know, like say 15 bombs hit you, you don't even know which way to run. And that's how the narcissist is when they come into your life. They inflame everything, every little wound that you have or any little idiosyncrasy or something, but it becomes an issue because you didn't heal those wounds. You were able to either cover them up, sometimes with maybe your ego. You cover them up with your ego. Maybe you protect them with your ego. But that's why they can find these triggers in you, because they inflame everything to a point to where you start to be triggered by these little wounds that they inflame, and then they sit back and say some things and watch to see what triggers you. So then they know how to control you. That's how they get into your emotional field and control it, hijack it. That's how you get to a place where you need validation. But why did you have these unhealed childhood wounds? When you got bored, instead of thinking about the things that needed to be dealt with, instead you would distract yourself. These are things that are maladaptive in your life, and you figure this out later when you get into healing yourself. But the narcissist sparks that, and why do they spark it? Or how did this occur? This occurred because you didn't love yourself enough to go in and to heal them. It's because you didn't really know how to heal them, or you didn't know how to pinpoint them. That's part of it. So you just kind of were in limbo until the narcissist came and inflamed them and got you off track so that you could get aligned and on track and centered and balanced so that you could be even. It's almost like you got to be able to handle everything correctly. That's where people get into talking about being masculine and feminine, and you need to have almost like to some degree, some sort of a balance so that you are able to deal with every situation. And I'm speaking to people who are wise individuals or want wisdom. So I know this could be some subject that could be made fun of, but you have to be able to have balance in your life. You have the right sensitivities. And this is how the world describes it. Balance in your life is to have the right masculine, feminine in your life, as far as understanding how to navigate through those things. It's kind of like you want to know how to treat a woman right. You also want to know how to treat your guy friends right. You need to understand how to treat your mother right, and your siblings, and your love partner. And everybody has different roles to play, but you have to know how to treat individuals. And you need to have balance and alignment. And so you are off balance the whole time, your whole life. And the narcissist inflames those things that cause you to be off balance. And people always want me to talk about how do you heal. And this is kind of a subject on healing that nobody really talks about. But the narcissist manipulates these things and gets you to, they get these things to play against you. They use these tactics, these childhood wounds to play against you. And they know them very well, because a lot of times the narcissist that comes to you is the one that is dealing with the same childhood wounds, except they didn't deal with their childhood wounds, and instead theirs are probably much worse, because at least you dealt with them to a level to where you could have a functional life. But these individuals didn't. So they had huge childhood wounds, and instead of dealing with them, they covered them up with complete ego, which is false self. That's why they don't have a true self, because they have so much injury, and instead of dealing with any of it, they built this ego to protect it. And then they exploit everybody else's childhood wounds to control them and to use and abuse them. And instead of dealing with their childhood wounds, they toss all of their injuries or maladaptations off on the empaths in their life. And they let you pay for it with the stress and reactions that come from it. And the negative energy that you accept, either through guilt or through shame or through apologizing when it's not your fault, or things that aren't your fault, or apologizing for things that they have erupted in your life and they know it. So they're exploiting you by causing these issues, and then day after day after day, and breaking you to pieces, and then stealing your energy, and then telling individuals in and around them and you that you have problems, when in fact they're just trying to wreck you every day. And they try to get you addicted to them through the trauma bond, the hot and the cold. So to heal, you have to get away from them completely, and you need to first get your endocrine system on a base level to where it doesn't fluctuate a whole lot. So if you can go stoic and get through this trauma bond period of time, being kind of along the lines of stoicism, because when you have too many highs, it causes dopamine hits, but then the next day you may have depression, because you can only emit so much dopamine or produce so much dopamine per day. And then you have cortisol, and cortisol is from all the stress from what they've left you with and what they have tore open in your life. And then they leave you with a threatening they're a threatening individual, and you know that they're going to sabotage you. So there's stress every day, just knowing, like, where is the sabotage going to come from, and how is it going to look, and how am I going to deal with it? This is for the unawoke individual, the one that doesn't understand narcissism. But once you understand narcissism, it gives you the tools to know how to deal with at least the individual. But they're still going to sabotage in the background, because they talk lies about you, and deception, and manipulate things that just aren't true. And then they have these flying monkeys, these individuals that are their cohorts, that go out and they perpetuate it. They believe it, and they act as news reporters, or they go out there and they report this falsity to everybody in the arena. And so then it perpetuates. And then the only way that people are going to believe it is if they know your character, and they know it's a lie, and or they're able to see through whoever the narcissist is and their flying monkeys, and know that they're a lie and they're manipulators. But a lot of times people have a hard time with that. So it does free you, meaning your name gets cleared, but it could take several years before people get it, because eventually the narcissist is going to show their true colors, and they're going to out themselves. But they could easily just move. And if they move, but they're very codependent. They're extremely codependent. So generally speaking, they don't move. They only move when they've wrecked their name so bad that they can't get any forms of supply anywhere. And they have so many enemies in the territory they live in. They're forced to move. But a lot of times they don't move because they're completely codependent. So they try to stay close to their immediate family, because they never could break ties with them at all. A lot of times they're late to move out of their parents' house because they're so codependent to their family members. But they manipulate these things, and then they create a whole bunch of problems in your life by telling you all these lies about what they're doing, or what you're doing that you're not doing, or where they said they were when they weren't. Like that was a lie. Or they tell you they're not doing these things, like cheating on you and lying to you and stealing from you, but they are. And so you have a tough time with this whole barrage of what's right, what's wrong, and what to believe, what not to believe. They'll move items in your house, like when you need your keys, they'll move them to a different area of the house, and they'll tell you that they didn't move them. So you'll start feeling like you're crazy, but they're gaslighting you. And they will start arguments with you that where they will rage out, and then they will leave and cheat on you and come back. And then when you know your intuition's telling you they're cheating on you, and you bring it up in conversation, then they gaslight you to the point to where you almost apologize to them. And then they put witchcraft on you. And then they just get you isolated and get you to get rid of anybody good in your life by manipulations. And only people they'll allow in your life, if you want to be with them, are the narcissistic or narcissists in and around you that you're unaware that hate you as well. So then you'll have nothing but a pack of wolves, and you'll be like a sheep. And you will be completely devoured. And they wreck your self-esteem and self-worth so bad, and get you addicted through the hot and the cold, and get you in your ego state, and then they break you down to pieces. And they get you sick almost, and then your vibration's so low to the ground, and then they leave you, and they go to another source of supply, only to come back over and over and over and keep breaking you down and beating you down to where you can have major problems in your life. And when they throw their negative energy on you, it's kind of, it's not just sinful energy, but it's kind of demonic in a way, because they're dealing with dark energy. So then you could have problems occur and rise in your life because you're that negative energy starts to get attached to you from the outside and inflict harm on your life. And it can cause you to act out in some ways because you're trying to burn off that negative energy while they're walking around out there wearing your identity, looking like you, and acting kosher and cool because they're wearing your good energy. And this is kind of what happens. But they will just do this over and over and over until, if you let it persist year after year after year, you won't be able to work. You'll be codependent to them, and you'll be anxious and having to be on all kinds of prescriptions. I mean, this is my opinion, probably would end up that way over time because they make you sick. You'll have autoimmune diseases if you don't watch out for it, because these are things that narcissists cause. They get you fighting yourself. And then what makes it worse and keeps you at a low vibration is you may walk in the 9 fruits of the spirit, but they will break you down to where you got to back them up. And you have to knock all your boundaries down to keep them. So you end up becoming a lie just like them. And there's almost nothing good in you. Because for you to be with a narcissist, it's almost like you'll end up over time, if you accept this, in most cases having to be dealing with a third party. A lot of people don't want to talk about that, but behind the scenes, you don't know what's going on, but you kind of know that there's something going on with other people sometimes. Sometimes you'll catch them, but sometimes you won't. And a lot of times you'll break up with them because you won't kneel to that or bow down to that. That's one standard that you don't have. But a lot of people will. Because when they leave and you want them back so bad, you'll accept whatever you can get, which means you have to drop every boundary down. Which means you have to back them up, or you gotta avoid arguments. So when they're doing bad things to you or doing bad things to other people, you just won't acknowledge it so that you can keep the peace and keep them in your life. Because if you address things, you're going to go against the mask. And when you go against the mask, that's the only thing they're loyal to, which is whatever they're telling you, not what they're doing. And when you go against the mask, that's the negative energy that controls them. That is the mask. So that's the only thing they're loyal to, because it brings them finances and physical gains. It brings them clout. It brings them their power and control over people. That's the pact they made. So you if you want the narcissist to stay in your life, you'll learn that you can't go against that mask, which is what they're telling you, not what they're doing. So you have to be accepting of it, which makes you a lie. So this is how certain ways that they manipulate you to weaken you and to break you down, to control you and hijack you. Only when you go against that mask, it's a full-on war then. When you back yourself up out of that, it ends up being a war. And you know it's going to be a war, and that's why sometimes you don't want to end it either, because you know there's a lot of threats that come with it, because they're going to smear you up and destroy your clout, whatever you have built out there in the world, your name, the name for yourself. They're going to destroy it with smear campaigning. And then you'll have repercussions that come from that. And they get extremely angry and take that very personal. But after you get through all that, which God knows it could take years, because a lot of times they don't want to deal with all of it. They'll deal with it on some level, but to deal with it finally is when you completely move on in a new relationship. Usually it'll come back and they'll draw in for the final war. And it sucks, man, because you'll have to deal with it almost all over again. But it's worth it, because you can't live a lie. You are made to do much more. And that's why the narcissist comes to the empath, because the enemy knows that if you align yourself with the Almighty, because you're compassionate and you walk in the 9 fruits of the Spirit, He's gifted you with a lot of gifts, and He wants you to engage with those gifts and change the world. So that's my message for today. If you can give me a like, subscription, and thumbs up. Till next time, love y'all. Soldier, peace, we out.